Good morning, everybody. This is Candy Scott at the Research Institute here at Western Oregon University, and we want to welcome you to this morning's webinar. It is a nuts and bolts webinar, but it will definitely have a focus on college and career readiness. So in a moment, I will be introducing Pete and Marnie Jewell. But in the meantime, I just want to welcome all of you to the call and do a few reminders or some information for those of you who have not yet participated in an Adobe Connect meeting. So some of the options that you have as a participant are to go ahead and use the little icon at the top of the screen, and I will show you what that looks like. That little person who looks like he's raising his hand, that's what they're doing. So if you have a question or a comment and you would like to have us address it, you can raise your hand, and then as soon as you've already had your question answered, then you can lower your hand back down. You can also use this chat box in the lower right part of your screen to type in any questions or comments or feedback that you have for us throughout the webinar. And if all else fails, you can unmute your phone. Most of you hopefully have a feature on your phone that you can mute or unmute, and if you don't, then you can just press the *6. And then to unmute yourself, again, to ask questions or add a comment, you can use #6. So thank you again for joining us this morning. This webinar is being recorded for those of our peers who could not join us this morning, and or if you want to listen to information later, you'll be able to listen to that within a day or so. Probably this will be up on the website, the 21st Century website. So thank you again for joining us, and I will go ahead and hand this over to Pete Reedy.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Thank you for joining us. This topic is very important for young students and middle schoolers and high schoolers, and as a result, of course, it's very important for us as 21st Century program directors, coordinators, and line staff, because it's really talking about helping the students have a vision for their future and have the capabilities to move in the direction that they want to get to. For that, we want to make sure that our programs provide information and also good guidance and best practice for this opportunity for them. So the agenda for the meeting today is very straightforward, and I'm very glad to welcome Marnie Jewell, who will be doing most of the presentation, and Lisa Plum is also here with us at ODE. The agenda is in the following categories. We're taking a look at what connection does 21st Century Grant have to college and career readiness, what specifically is the purpose or purposes of the inventory that was sent out recently. The next option was to take a look at what is the definition of college and career ready, and Oregon has a definition that has been adopted. And then we really want to hear from you with the sharing of best practices, things that you're doing, the information you learned from the completion of the inventories. We want to thank those of you who did that less than a week ago. It's still open for those who haven't done it yet. You may do it by site. You can do it program-wide if you have some consistency in the sites. And then finally, we really make a request for your involvement in terms of input to give us direction and information that we need to be helpful for you, and that is to notify us, let us know what supports could be provided from here or from partners or from individuals at other departments in ODE other than 21st Century. What supports could be provided to encourage further alignment with CCR efforts at each site. And again, we're looking forward to this opportunity to simply take a look at the fact that we're connecting with college and career readiness. We are not placing this as another load on top of your heavy load already. But college and career readiness is taking place in all the schools because it's been required by NCLB for over 8 years now. It's been part of that law, and specifically that's where it comes from. Interestingly enough, it is not called out with those words in the Every Student Succeeds Act. However, it's in there in principle as part of a high-quality education, so it will be with us. We're still using that term because NCLB hasn't sunsetted finally for 21st Century yet, and also because it's still in ESSA. So in ESSA, districts have to facilitate effective transitions from middle school to high school, and then in addition to that, from high school to post-secondary education or work. And districts have to help students gain skills and knowledge and expertise needed for post-secondary success and skills for in-demand occupations or industries. In the new law for 21st century, under Every Student Succeeds Act, as some of you have learned from the sessions that we've done, the language specifically calls out these high wage and high demand occupations for programs that work with middle schoolers and high schoolers to make sure that we are preparing them adequately for that as a part of 21st century. This opportunity for us is really to make sure that what we're doing is we're linking our program and aligning, as you align already, with what's available in your district and in your communities and through your partners. We want to connect with our partnerships to enhance what capabilities we would have available to us for CC&R. And in this respect, we simply want to emphasize that for you, that this is not intending to pile on a full thing for everyone. Even though most of our grantees did propose some career and technical education priorities in their application in 2013, we want to make sure that we're looking forward in a little different way so that we're not trying to be CTE departments at every after-school program. So the purpose of this inventory that I'll turn this over to Marnie is to gather information and to help us to do a better job to align with the resources that are available in our school buildings. So I'll turn this over to Marnie Jewell, who can go from here on the next slide and forward.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm so excited to be here. Just a little word about me. I am new to the Department of Education, and I started in July. My background is high school counseling, some elementary counseling, and some district support for school counselors as well within the Salem-Keizer School District. Most recently, I was a high school counselor in Woodburn. One of the things, so the role that I serve here at the Department of Education is twofold. With one hat, I'm on the CTE team, and I am responsible for the programs of study that fall under the human resource area. That would be things like education and training, government, public safety, early childhood. And then with the other hat is career education, which is a new position to the state of Oregon. That being said, I tie closely with a partner who is a colleague on the other side of the fence in another department who is supporting school counselors and college and career readiness. And so one of the things that we have been having the opportunity to do is really talk about what college and career readiness means. So what you received from Pete was a kind of a working draft of an inventory. It isn't designed to evaluate or to look negatively on what isn't happening, but simply an opportunity to take a look at programs through a different set of lenses to say what might be available, what might you already be doing that ties to the efforts of schools and other supports for students, and also how does that and is there anything that where you can build stronger partnerships, or are there some things you're doing that maybe students can then take back with them? Essentially, it sounds like most of the people here in year 4 of their grant. Am I correct in that?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So this tool was really wanting you to be able to look at the opportunities that you have within your community, think about the needs of your specific population of students that you work with, and then see where some connections can be made to the personalized learning requirements, which are graduation requirements, and to look at where partnerships could maybe strengthen your program and also build a bridge for students between after-school program and their world of education. So, oops, Sorry about that. So the state of Oregon has come up with a working definition of what college and career readiness means. Now, what you'll see is this label of college and career readiness, and there's a lot of conversation about actually what we may be talking about is career and college readiness, because we know that students who leave us eventually need to find meaningful contribution in the form of a career, and some of them may use college as a path to get there, and some of them may not. So essentially what has been defined as college and career readiness in the state of Oregon is that CCR Oregonians have acquired knowledge, skills, professional behaviors that provide a starting point to either enter and succeed in the workplace, move on to career training, or move into college courses leading to certificates or degrees. One of the things that we noticed was that there are some really great things already happening in the area of college and career readiness in some areas where some of your programs have identified areas where they could grow. And so what we wanted to do was provide the opportunity as we look at our continuous improvement model of what is happening in the field. What are some things that you've noticed that are intentionally happening within your site, and what could maybe be replicated at other sites to move college and career readiness forward within your sphere of influence, which is that after-school program. So we do want to ask people to maybe volunteer the things that they're doing as best practices and as a part of this segment of our presentation. So I'm going to look for volunteers here.
This is Candy. Don't be shy, folks. We know that several of you have things that you're doing.
This is Mike Loretz in Oregon City. We have Fridays, we have a internship program for all of our juniors and seniors. They spend their time out in internships with businesses, and then on the freshmen and sophomores are doing service learning, which are activities that are aligned to career pathways. So they'll study a particular pathway and they'll go do a visitation or a service project. So we do have a pretty good structure for exposing kids to some career-related areas. But I think the reason I'm interested in this is that I think a lot of schools were doing a pretty good job with the college-ready part. We're trying to get kids ready for college, but we're, I think, all woefully pretty needy in the area of the career-ready part, and good exposure to, you know, the pretty nice wage jobs that are out there, and there's a real demand for them. We actually went to the, Pete, I think you referred us to a place in Portland with the work for. I'm not even remembering what it was, but I know my team went, and they were pretty stoked when they got back from it that there were people in the sheet metal industry and some other industries that were just like begging for students to work with them. So we're going to be expanding that. But I think I'm most interested in knowing how we can develop pathways to careers right out of high school, or internships into apprenticeships, those kind of things, so that there's just a lot of kids that are just pretty disengaged with the whole college path, and we have not adapted well.
That's a really good point. So permit me to, I'm being new, can you give me a context? So your after-school program is located where?
Oregon City.
Oregon City. Okay. And so when you mentioned the internships and service learning opportunities, are those typically within the school day, or are they happening through your after-school program?
Within the school day.
Okay.
But as you know, that expanded learning doesn't have to be after school, and so we've embedded a lot of the things that we do within the school day. So after school for us is not as a big a part of our programs as it is expanding the learning opportunities for kids.
And thank you. That is a really good point, and I would like to highlight that because that's exactly the case. Expanded learning doesn't necessarily mean you can't do it outside of the classroom, and it only has to be nights or weekends, but expanded learning can be lots of different things. So it sounds like you've really worked to kind of bring that context within the student's school day as well, and it's not as siloed as some other sites might feel. Am I gathering that correctly?
Yeah, that's true, and we took advantage of a school improvement grant process and a different kind of a work calendar and work week. We have little longer days. We have an additional period that's been added on with 21st Century Grant. So we do have Fridays where literally there's the freshmen and sophomore have a program and the juniors and seniors have a program, and they're different, and it's different than a regular school week. So it's certainly integrated. They're taught by our staff, but it's not something that's easily replicated. Where at charter schools, we have some of that flexibility.
Yes. I want to make a note. Madeline Hernandez has shared work systems and summer work. Oh, it disappeared. Has as a good option for students who are 16 and older, and work experience for youth as well as youth progress, having internship for at-risk and students experiencing homelessness. Thank you. Karen Shores is also sharing the Lincoln County after-school programs partnering with homeless program to hire homeless high school students to work in the programs and are mentored by on-site coordinators, and they gain hands-on experience through that. And that is a really powerful way of giving that specific population of students the actual work experience of engaging as employees in that context. So that sounds like it's working really well there in, forgive me because I can't see up as far, Lincoln County. Am I correct? Yes, sounds like it. Thank you, Pete. I'm not very good with geography, I have to tell you. But you know, one of the things that we've noted is that your specific sites are, you know, everything's so different. We had the opportunity to go over to visit in Eastern Oregon and talk with some of the more rural districts recently, and sometimes the structures and the partnering that happens is very creative and different than it might be in something that's more like a metro area like Portland, simply because many people wear many different hats sometimes depending on the size of your district or the community that you're connected to. So one of the things I also noted as I was looking through some of your responses to the college and career readiness inventory that we sent out, which, by the way, I want to reiterate, is sort of a baseline. Where are things at? If we're talking that we have multiple areas within education where we're all supporting this effort statewide, then the question arises is, well, how do we know what's happening? And so the inventory is really a way to just kind of ask the question, what's already happening out there? What are some needs people have and have identified? One of the things I noted on some of the responses was there's one place that is intentionally making positive calls home with some of the skills that students are demonstrating within their program, which I think was, I thought was a really great way of building connections back into the family, into parent partnerships, because as students transition from one step to the other, that's the system that remains this, well, for many students, that's the system that's their system of origin, and hopefully will continue to be that systemic support for them, no matter which arena they find themselves in, whether education, career, etc. And so that seemed like a really positive, intentional effort of connecting back with the parents. Somebody else mentioned that they were looking at focusing on growth mindset and mindfulness, and helping students to be present, which really is a fantastic lens for college and career readiness as you look at, you know, the workforce needs, saying we need people to be present, we need them to be engaged, we need them to be mindful of their behaviors within the workplace. So those are the types of sharing of best practices that I saw just briefly looking through some of the responses that I think there are probably other ones that I'm not remembering to point out right at the moment. And that's what I want to give you the opportunity to share with each other, some of those things that are happening within your site that are really supporting positive student growth, not only in education currently, but into their next steps. This is called wait time in a classroom. I'm trying to get better at it. Yes. Did somebody unmute? So perhaps let me ask a question this way. When many of you completed this inventory to say things you're thinking about that you would like to move towards, what are some things that you thought about in terms of, as Candy's asking, family engagement opportunities that help support college and career readiness? What are some things that you're currently doing to provide family engagement opportunities for the families in your programs? Can anybody share any of those? Thank you, Juniper. I can see you're formulating a response. While we're gathering that, I know that oftentimes things are kind of a sit and get, and one of the things we know that people say in the field is that they would really like to be able to hear from other people and to hear what good things are happening. And so that's kind of our thinking around trying to provide this kind of as an interactive webinar for you today. So I will try to capture the thoughts that are being typed in as they come through. Oh, there we go. Juniper is sharing some of your partner agencies host family nights with computer labs and coaching in non-English. And I'd be curious, those family nights and computer labs, what the focus of that night is. Is there is it around academics? Is it around opportunities to look at different careers? Really curious what the focus of those family nights might be, and if they might be on an ongoing basis. I've gotten spoiled with talk to text. Regularly scheduled, and the focus is basic, understanding computers and the internet, which is obviously a fantastic skill for students to have, and helping parents to come along and understand that would be a really, really key component for them to understand how their students not only interact with online curriculum, because there are teachers moving to online classrooms, and the need for access in order to get that, but also how the internet can be such a great resource for finding out information for next steps. I would be curious if any of your sites that you know of are connected to Career Information System, Oregon Career Information System, or CIS, as you may have heard it really spoken about, and if so, if you've utilized any of those resources for students.
I think all the schools have CIS in some format. It's a pretty standard tool to help kids sort of figure out what sort of requirements are for different careers. I think what I'm most interested in is how we can identify I think where our focus is now is helping all kids understand that they need to graduate and they need to go on to trade school or some other level to be able to get the job they want. So then we're right back to focusing on the schoolwork without the real tight connection to the job that they want. And I was at a job fair at one of my other schools that I work with in Jervis, and they had just tons of businesses there. They had kids with opportunities to get on big equipment and try out things. There was a poster put out by buildoregon.com, which I'm trying to find a way to get a hold of it, but it had, like 20 careers with the wages, the current wages for each one, and I'm really interested in ways that we can have a more direct route to actual job information and experiences, and that potential for internships, the potential for visitations, job shadowing, so that kids can really get into those careers rather than just using the career information system to find out what the requirements are to get into that career, and that puts them right back into the schoolwork part. I think we need more tangible opportunities for kids.
Great. Thank you for that feedback, because I think that's one of the things that we're looking at in terms of some colleagues and I are connecting with you have an upcoming conference regarding some college. We're going to do college and career readiness. It's November 17, 18 conference coming up, and that's actually a component of some of that we're bringing together in terms of connecting. But I really would like to, I want to put out there while we're waiting for some other responses, and I see we have a few coming in, that if you are really wanting to move that forward really specifically, I would very much, you'll see my contact information at the end, I would very much like to connect individually regarding what your specific kind of high priority needs are, in the near future, so that I can help help bring those resources together as well. One of the things is that we haven't had a career education plan in our state, and it's speaking to some of the gaps that you're identifying. And so as we develop that plan, I'm wanting to be really responsive to what the needs are regarding where those gaps are. I also have a colleague who does apprenticeship and work-based learning as well, so I want to provide that resource. Amy is mentioning that they have a FAFSA night, and parents and seniors can get information on filling out the FAFSA. It's open to everybody, but mostly senior parents come. So in terms of actually making those career connections, there are some resources, and I'll just kind of put that out for everyone, and because every community structures a little differently, but some chambers of commerce have been really good resources for people to identify where they can connect kids into the career industries. Another opportunity may be there's a website called Oregon Connections, which has individuals who are, and I can get this information so people don't have to try to write it down or get it all, but has it's a website where people can go and educators can request individuals from different industries to come in and connect with kids. Industry people may say, hey, we'd like to have kids come out and they can do job shadows here or whatever. And that is, in all honesty, probably more implemented in some places than others, but is a resource. The other thing that I think people don't know about is that the Employment Department recently has restructured their workforce analysts, and those workforce analysts actually now spend 20% of their time is allocated to supporting school systems. And so you can find out who your workforce analyst is through their website, because there's, I think she said there's 12 of them. And forgive me, I'm still learning in this process as well, because this is new. But the workforce analysts then can also connect with the needs of the workforce, bringing in research, being conduits of information into different industry areas, and can also be a resource for you. So I'm just throwing those out as some kind of basic things that could be resources in your area. But again, I want to reiterate that I would really be interested in helping to navigate some of those specific needs individually to help grow your program specific to what your students are needing. In thinking about, Candy has a question, in addition to the Friday morning session at the conference, College and Career Readiness, Bridging School and Out-of-School Programs, will you and your ODE colleagues have a table at the resource center? Great question. Nobody's told me that. I don't know. I'll ask.
I'm sorry about that, Marnie, but we actually were talking about it yesterday, Lisa and Ann and I, about that possibility for those folks who are unable to attend that session or have other things that they're doing at that time, at least having resources available to anybody, and even if it is just as you're talking about, a resource list of some of the websites or other information or organizations that people could connect with in their different communities. That would be helpful.
Yeah, I think that's certainly a possibility. I know that there are a number of conferences going on during that day, and some people are split, like early learning, and so it's certainly worth more conversation. So let me find out what I can and see what we can do to get more resources out there.
All right, thank you.
Yes. In terms of best practices and thinking about moving ahead, my question would be, and you're thinking about how you're growing your program, could I get some sharing on what you're thinking in terms of where you'd like to head? What would you like to see happen to build stronger connections? We've heard the intentional connection to career opportunities and to getting kids connected to that to community. Are there other thoughts or thinking around what might need to be priority or what you'd like to see priority that ties to what you're already doing through your grant and through the focus of your grant? Again, I want to reiterate, it's not, college and career readiness has not suddenly fallen onto 21st century grant recipients. but simply a lens to look through, and curious to hear where your thoughts are in terms of moving forward. One suggestion from a respondent was to partner with their community supports and invite those partnerships to come in and visit their program, which could be a way of strengthening some of those connections for kids. And I'm recognizing that not everybody participated, so we only have a portion of responses available. One program mentioned that they were bringing in their link crew and peer mentoring to build stronger connections for kids and provide support. As a way that they'd like to move forward. Any other input?
This is Mike Loretz again. I seem to be the only one that's not bashful here, but
Thank you.
it would be helpful to all. I mean, I think all of us that are on the call and all of us that are in the state, we're doing, locally things that we can do. But the advantage that you have at the state is that any way we can leverage this work into a central place, it saves all of us time and gives all of us ideas. So if the state could come up with a database of these are local contacts all over the state around industries, around careers, around, it's kind of like we had this conversation on an earlier webinar around things like artists in residence, that it's great. We're all trying to find a music person, or we're all trying to find somebody to do clay in our after-school program. But if there could be a regionalized artist in residence catalog of all those things put together, then suddenly we can all reach for that resource and know where that is. And so I guess I would just pitch for anything you could do from your chair at the state to gather the industry folks out there and say, we've got a lot of schools that are interested in certain experiences. What can you do in your area? And then we can get this out to all of our folks. Then we've got sort of a catalog, if you will, of I've got some kids that are interested in electronics, or I've got some kids that are interested in heavy equipment operation. Where could they go in an area, so that each one of us aren't doing that research and each one of us are not trying to find our local folks, that there's actually organizations, I believe, that around each career in industry that would, I think the research, if it was done once, done really well, we could all then build upon that rather than each one of us going out and trying to do our individual thing. So that would be my pitch.
Yeah, and that's a point well taken. And that's, I think, as I'm listening to you, that really is the intention of that Oregon connection that I mentioned, of putting that all in one place so people can find that. And that's not housed here at ODE, but it's a reminder to me, as what does career education look like and what do career resources look like, of intentionally tying to that resource and then seeing how we can support that becoming even broader, because it does exactly what you're indicating is a really big need.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Let's see. Thought I saw someone typing, but it appears that maybe they haven't. So the next piece is one of the things we talked about was wanting to get that input, and we've talked a little bit about that, on what supports could be provided to your program regionally that would encourage further alignments with college and career readiness at your particular site. So we mentioned that database as being a really good resource because you don't have to go reinvent the wheel. It's already out there as one thing. Are there other ideas or thoughts around what supports could be provided? to you as a site? We probably should have given you a heads up that this was much more of a listening session than a webinar. Because that's kind of because career education hasn't existed in the state, that's sort of kind of the basis of starting to gather that information. But in terms of wanting to connect college and career readiness, I'm hoping you'll be thinking about that and how to respond to that, but I would like to share with you that one of the things we were thinking of following up with is kind of talking about what career education, how we're developing that, how students develop their own personalized learning, the graduation requirements around personalized learning, what does career-related learning experiences at some places, those are happening really well. And particularly those that are strong, those sites strongly affiliated with a school may be more familiar with that than sites who maybe are not as closely aligned with school systems. But one of the things that we found is that people are giving students lots of opportunities that connect. For example, this example in Lincoln County, if I remember right, regarding how students are then hired into the program, being able to document that and take that back into the school and apply some of those experiences to their graduation requirements and to their connection around their next steps could be really helpful. And I'd be curious what supports you have in place or what you might need in terms of helping students to document those or to expand upon those opportunities and bridge those two things together. I'd like to leave it open for if you come up with some supports that could be provided. We'd sure like to hear about that because obviously if we are going to be engaging in conversation, we'd like that to be meaningful to you and to your sites in growing those. And we want to make sure that you're getting the information and support you need in order to bolster your programs. One of the supports that you may be aware of or may not would be the U for Youth page that is on the education website. It's specifically designed by the U.S. Education for 21st Century CCLC site to provide free resources to grantees nationwide. And there are some free resources available to you regarding college and career readiness. This would be hopefully the site. There it is. There is the site that is accessible and could be useful to you as you think about building upon your program or making specific intentional connections in the area of college and career readiness for your students that are available to you at any point. Pete, did you have any other thoughts regarding that?
Well, just with the U for Youth, it can be very helpful for programs, if you can hear me. It is, they have a lot of resources, but again, I want to tread lightly here because the intent of this is not to give you more to do. but there are resources there that I think you can find to pretty much pick up and go with it. Opportunities for breaking down cultural barriers about careers, activities that are very sensitive but well done that can be done within your program as it exists now. There are resources also for training your staff, frontline staff or others, or student mentors or cadet teachers to be able to help others in the program with respect to careers. Another option that you might consider with the U for Youth is there are some very significant resources that you can just use in a staff meeting to brainstorm. And not all of them would be appropriate as they're presented, but they're Word files and you can easily edit them, and I have a bunch, and if it's possible to post them along with this video, Candace, I can share those with you so they're readily accessible in case folks have trouble getting to the Y4Y page. But it's a very useful place. The other element that might be useful to do is to engage your students in this and have them do an asset map of the community. What are the careers that are out there? Where are they located? What do they do? And they can practice an interview. What do you like about your career? What did you do to get here? And that kind of thing. And it can be a very learning opportunity for students to explore their community, learn about some of the careers that are out there, report back to others, and it may engage the employer as well. But there are a lot of opportunities where you can start where it works and where it's possible to do so and make it a part of or infusing it into your program design and your culture of your program. And then later cultivate college and career ready with the families. That's just what you're doing. And then expand the exploration in maybe grades 6 through 12 and promote awareness and create a college and career going culture in your program and leverage school day and community partnerships in your program. And those don't have to be starting with huge things, but very definitely you can begin where you have opportunities. I know in Fall City, I'm mentioning Amy has been doing for years some very innovative things that are just done with folks who are in the community there, and they're willing to help the students and even introduce them to a trade. So there are a lot of ways that I think you can begin to implement just useful things and explore this and help the students to develop that entrepreneurial mindset about their future so that they can begin to develop their own resumes and develop their own experiences and get an opportunity to maybe even do a vocational aptitude assessment of some type. What do I like? What am I good at? What would that mean? And that sort of thing. Field trips are great, and you might be able to use some of these things as a springboard into field trips that you can do as part of your after-school program. But I really appreciate Marnie bringing this information and her expertise to this, and hopefully this will not only continue, but the momentum will increase as we go forward. Looking forward to the sessions on November 17th and 18th. Hope you all join us there at the conference.
Thank you so much. And I do want to point out that the career readiness inventory that was sent out really did have a very secondary feel to it. Not forgetting that elementary sites maybe felt like they didn't really have as much to contribute to that piece because it was based on a secondary lens. But just kind of a question and awareness of, are there things that you are stair-stepping into at your sites as well? So for whatever that's worth, I just want to remember that our elementary folks, you're not forgotten in that, and there's a lot of efforts towards beginning that college and really career exploration really at the elementary levels. So thank you for all the work you do, and thank you for allowing me to be part of this. And I really would very much like to connect with any of the participants or any of your colleagues who would like to have more specific information regarding career education and help to bridge to those other individuals here at ODE who may also be of assistance in whether it's college and career readiness or work-based learning or apprenticeships or any of those things. I may not, I know I don't have the answers to many questions, but I do know where to go find them here at ODE, and I welcome the opportunity to assist in any way possible.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Did you have more, either Marnie or Pete, that you had? Because I do have a couple of announcements.
I'm good.
All right, so we will get to see Marnie one way or the other at the fall conference here in a couple of weeks, and I do want to do a reminder that for those of you, as staffing changes continue to occur, and they do, please make sure that you're sending those directly to Ann and Pete at ODE, and also thank you to all of you who've been helping to encourage your colleagues to get registered for the conference. Last Friday, I think we had about 82 folks, and now we're up to 147. So we are getting closer. The last couple of conferences we've had well over 200. So we want to make sure those keep coming in. And some sessions are already full. So that's how urgent it is to go ahead and get registered now if you have an interest in any particular sessions, because some of our presenters are more comfortable with 25 to 30 in the room instead of 50 to 60. So the sooner that registrations come in, the more likely you are to get your first choice, but at least we should be able to honor second choices too. So thank you all for registering for the conference. And I don't have anything else, but again, thank you so much to Marnie, Jewel, and to Pete for sharing information with all of us. This will, because it was recorded, we will be posting it on the 21st Century website. And any of the resources that we come up with will also be added to that website. We really want that to be that sort of one-stop shopping for all of you who are looking for, as Mike was pointing out, sort of one place where resources and information could be centralized. So we want to make sure that we continue to enhance that and build it to meet your needs too. So thank you, all of you, for participating today, whether you typed something into the chat box or spoke up. We really appreciate your contribution, and we look forward to seeing you guys in a couple of weeks. We are very excited here. Fall Conference Planning Team put together a really nice conference, and we're very excited to have all of you here very soon. Thank you. Have a great day.